Okay, you guys, I'm starstruck about our next guest because I just watched his stand-up special on Netflix. It is called 37 and Single. He is the host of Betches' amazing podcast, You Up and The Bachelor. This dude does it all. He is sitting across from me now. I'm trying not to sweat profusely. But here he is, the one, the only Jared Freid. Jared, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This is such a pleasure.
I'm sure it's an amazing pleasure.
Pumped. No, it is always.
I was watching 37 and Single, and right out of the gate, I was like, this dude's so smart. I've been married and divorced already, and you are 37 and single, and you were saying it almost like a negative way that you're too picky, and I'm like, stay that way.
Right. I don't think it's negative. I think it's more to say, like, to admit that, like, these are my problems. These are my insecurities of leaving the house, and how you become more, zoned into what you think you like. And sometimes that's, we talk about it on You Up all the time. You need like a mix of like romanticism and cynicism when it comes to dating. You have to be you have to want to leave the house is a pretty romantic decision. Like
it's optimistic.
It's
as
optimistic.
You get older,
right.
to want to leave the house.
Right. Let me go to this place that's new. Let me walk down this street that I've never walked down before. As you get older, you do that less and less. You become more protective. But you also, you got to force yourself to do that. But also, you want to be cynical. You don't want to just go out with anybody and go, you can't sit there going 6 months in with someone at 37 saying, we're just having fun, because it might not be fun for them.
Oh my God.
They're thinking of the future.
Kim Kardashian today, there was a little TMZ article that she's potentially hanging out with Odell Beckham Jr. No offense, I'm older, but like 40 years old to have a article put out there that they're hanging out.
Right. I guess might be a difference because, and then we have to admit to like the difference of these things. Like she's in her 40s or 40 years old with kids, been through marriage, has her own business, is done as far as kids and getting to that part of life and going through like the pickups and the PTA and the, all that stuff. I'm not saying Kim Kardashian's like the head of the PTA meeting, but like, maybe those things are off her mind, and that part of life she's not waiting on. Yeah. And I think like that's a big part. If you're 37, single, never married, no kids, you go, I do want the next part of life. I am a little bit, hanging out with my friends are doing, have new friends. Yeah. And I'm hanging out with another generation that I really don't relate to as much, all those things. And you're like, how do I move forward? But I don't want to move forward with, in the wrong situation that will make me less happy than I am today, which is pretty happy. That's the thing about 37 and single. I'm happy. I can go to a bar on my own. I have a lifestyle I like. I travel. I go,
And you're confident in the things you don't like.
Exactly.
You say if there's a DJ at a bar,
right,
you're out of there.
Time to go.
Time to go.
I'm not going to sit here and go, well, maybe they're the next, Modest Mouse. I don't know.
Modest Mouse.
Is that a DJ?
Dead Mouse. Dead Mouse. It's really close.
Yeah.
It's in a mouse family.
Right.
But you're confident in your own choices.
Right.
But like, as you get older, I wonder where that heads from there.
Well, you head towards weirdo land, like that's kind of that's the fear for men, is that you're now old guy at a bar. Like,
then it gets scary for other people to watch you.
You're like, don't you become a warning,
It's just a halo of negativity around you.
Right. Well, we just had Gary, the Golden Bachelor, on You Up, and he was so great, but we were like, I asked him, I was like, what was your frustrations with being single? Because he was single before he went on The Bachelor. Like, what was it like being a guy in your 70s? He was single
his whole life?
No, he was married. His wife tragically passed away, and then he had some single time, and now he's on The Golden Bachelor. So I was like, everyone always references his wife passing. Everyone talks about him, this new journey in dating. But I was more interested, like, what's dating like when you're 70 and you want to find someone? And he was like, he brought up some like kind of depressing, but like very real items. Where he was like, I want to play cards with my friends, but you need, it's a game for couples. And he's like, I can't play in the couples game. And I'm like, yeah. And I said to him, I'm sure they are assuming, well, you're off doing single guy things now. You don't want to play the card game with the couples, but he does.
Yeah.
And, I think that's a big part of like what you're looking for is like, I want to do the things I want to do the older of age things. I don't want to be at nightclub with people I don't know. I want to be comfy cozy in this group of people. And it's like, I do, sometimes the cost of admission is like, you gotta have a partner.
Well, I mean, so Golden Bachelor is fascinating because I've kind of like tapped out a little bit on The Bachelor over the last couple of seasons because I was like, oh, I just feel like I'm supporting their Instagram careers eventually. And then the Golden Bachelor really is like already I'm like, ooh, I'm in. I love this. But it's the same thing. It's 22 women and the Golden Bachelor.
I think I've heard that a lot from people that they're like coming back to the show. And I kind of like it. It feels like I stayed and worked at the high school and now all the alumni are coming back. Because people are there was this hatred of The Bachelor. And I guess I never saw it that way as like, to me, Instagram's a part of it. It's not all of it. Like,
but how much tummy tea is there to be sold?
Right. Well, that's the point is like, I think like, I think it's part of the storyline. To me, The Bachelor's a petri dish. And you put in the different things and you see how they react against one another. So in that scenario with the petri dish, you go, okay, Instagram is one thing that's being kind of floated in there. Social media. I'm here to get a podcast. And I don't think that pot of gold even exists anymore. So that's even interesting. Yeah. How about these people who came on to get Instagram followers where there's no Instagram followers to be had?
I know.
That's just last season, there was one of the guys that, tried to you could tell he was trying to be a personality. It didn't work. And it was kind of weird to watch him try for that.
Yeah.
Not unknowingly too late. You're looking for the punch bowl and the party's already cleaned up.
Well, I mean, I started with Bachelor when it was like Bachelor Bob Guinea, like when it was like almost pre-social media to what it is today. And I hate to say it was like I'm a purist. Like it was so innocent and pure back then,
Right. But it's, again, that's the petri dish is the same. It's 30 women, one man, 30 men, one woman. And then you get the Golden Bachelor and you go, ooh, same petri dish, different variables.
Yes.
And I think what excites people is the idea that you have these, people who don't think of the cameras as much. I think that's a big part of it. You need reality in your reality TV.
Yeah, exactly.
When it becomes too self-aware, that's when the show kind of like jumps the shark, I think. And if you look at like Vanderpump Rules, like Vanderpump comes back because a real thing happened on a reality show, a breakup, a cheating scandal.
Yeah.
So you go, oh, people now get drawn back to it. That's not because the characters were any better people or more.
Not at all.
The storyline was more interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that's what drew people back. And, now, Jordan and I were talking about on You Up recently. I think this past week, we were just talking about how like a lot of these reality shows are going to start having people doing the breakup live, because they go, there's a pot of gold here.
It works.
There's incentive.
If you can mine trauma, even the Golden Bachelor, you just said, he has this tragic story about his wife passing away. Part of The Bachelor and The Bachelorette is you'll hear usually the contestants trying to impress the Bachelor or Bachelorette with revealing something hugely tragic. And I'm now curious what they're going to bring to him to match his story almost.
Right. Yeah. I would assume that, I'm excited for that. And it's a different story. I would assume you're going to hear about a spouse who passed away. You're going to hear about cheating. You're going to hear about divorce. You're going to hear about how, especially, again, this is a generalization, but at the same time, it's probably a true one. I was a housewife and I had to go back into the workforce after a divorce. Like that's a real thing, real story. But these are news stories.
I know.
These
I'm
are
totally
stories.
here for that. That's so exciting. Do they have? Do they have the fantasy suite still? Is it like, does it get lascivious?
We stayed away from that question because I felt like the one thing I see all the time is like everyone going to Gary being like, you gonna fuck? Hey, old man, you gonna take a Viagra? So I was like, I think we want to I think that joke is there to be made. I'm interested to see what happens in a fantasy suite situation. But again, that's like, I don't know. It's just, I'm sure they're going to have them, but I'm sure that's to me, they've changed the tenor of the fantasy suite. It's less like off to the room to do the fucking. And now it's more like time without the cameras. Like they've kind of changed how they
it's like
talk
when
about it.
They used to let people get shit can wasted, and then you had like, you know, people falling into the pool and stuff, and now you can only have like a drink an hour or something like that.
That's the claim. The claim.
Yeah.
Listen, I've tried to do that for myself and never works.
It's not fun. It's not fun.
No, not a fun night.
I don't recommend it. It is something that I am excited to watch, though, in just terms of relationships. Like you said, it is interesting. 37 and single, it's interesting to see somebody in their 70s and single.
Well, this is why I like The Bachelor. 37 and single, I talk about dating stuff all the time, and I think The Bachelor is like WWE wrestling. Like, we know it's fake, but you still got to jump off the top rope. You still got to take the bumps. You still got to get hit by the chair. So first date, second date, meeting the parents, fantasy suite, getting dumped, first kiss, it's all there.
Yeah.
Whether it's turns into a marriage or not, who knows, but you have to go through that on camera. That's the fun of the show.
Another big part of 37 and single, which everybody seems to insanely love, is the ick.
Yes.
You know, I associate the ick not with you, like, you know, just personally, but just the actual bringing and talking of the ick. Will you explain to the audience, even though they know already, what is getting the ick?
So the ick was explained to me as someone goes on a date with a guy, he does one thing, she never wants to fuck him ever. That's it, plain and simple.
Yeah.
And I first heard of this. I know it's a Love Island word, but the way I presented on the special and the way it happened, a friend of mine was like, a guy was wearing khakis. I'd never fuck a guy in khakis. And I was like, I don't relate to that. So I think the things that are fun to talk about in stand-up are things you don't relate to, and it's you discovering or it's you getting angry by something.
Yeah.
And this was something where I'm like purely fascinated.
It really is fascinating because everybody has a different one.
Everyone has a different one. And what I love about the ick is it's like, and you know, you have to live in the reality of like one woman's ick is another woman's husband. If you can't live in that, then it's not that fun anymore. Like you're just trying to like trash someone.
Yeah.
Because what I found was, so I went on the road and I'm doing shows and I would get to the bit. And at first a bit for me is just a lot of talking and not a lot of funny. So I was like, my friend, she wouldn't have sex with a guy because he wore khakis. I was like, has anyone ever gotten like the ick? And you see women's eyes light up. And then, so I started going around the room. Hey, does anyone have a good ick? And I started like kind of crowdsourcing them. And then what I loved about them is that they're ridiculous and reasonable at the same time. Is that I think, and then I started thinking, why is it that all these women get icks? And I think it's a lot of societal shit. Like, and we see it. I hear about it on the podcast. Like, you're told, go on the date, go meet the guy, go meet the date.
Yeah.
I'm not told that as a single guy very often. Is she hot?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what I came to realize is that, like, if you're being told, go on the date, and if you're also told that you're not trying, I think a lot of the women that write into you up, you know, one of the things is like, you want to have a right to complain about dating. And the only way you have a right is if you've gone on all the dates that someone's thrown at you.
If you put in the hours.
Right. And that's not fair.
Yeah.
It's truly not fair. And I'm not put in that position, but when you think of it that way, you go, oh, I understand why someone was trying for a friend because an aunt told them that you got to be on the apps unless to actually try. Then they go on a date where the person checks some boxes, but not all of them. And they're kind of not sure if they want to be there. And then the guy does one thing, like, say, okie dokie. And she's like, I could never. No. That's it. The straw that broke the camel's back. It's over.
Son of a bitch said okie dokie.
That's why it's so fun, because it's like, and whenever women would tell me their icks, you could see like the half smirk of like,
you feel the energy on watching the Netflix special. You feel the room light up.
Right.
And that must be exciting for you, even as a stand-up and a performer, like every night to be able to feel that. Everybody wants to say their ick.
Totally. And I ended up doing a thing where I went to the cellar and I was just like, I put a mic in the middle of the room. I was like, tell me your icks. And yeah, the more specific, the better. And, you know, it's funny to me because we live a real world life and then we live an internet world life. And you see the comments from like men on the internet who can't have fun with it. And it's like the most self-conscious, kind of worst type of internet person. It's like, it almost like there's a good way to find out who sucks on the internet is to like have women say reasons they didn't fuck a guy, and it's like, what's up with women today?
Yeah.
And you're like,
why can't I have a fish in my dating profile? Why can't I hold a fish?
You can.
Yeah.
You know, like no one's telling you this is one person's attraction, one person.
This is the next person's husband.
Yeah. So it's been interesting and fun. It's cool that people have connected with it. It's cool to like, you know, again, I'm doing a whole new set now. So like,
you're doing Family Business Tour right now, which does revolve around your family, I believe, which you guys need to make sure you stay around for the very end of 37 and Single, where it's backstage with his parents. And it really is truly amazing. You're about to go to a sold out show.
Right.
And they're just like, oh, he always poses weird in photos.
Right. They're giving me shit.
It's amazing.
Like, it's just, you know, it's funny because, you know, I put hidden cameras in the green room, and my parents didn't know it was going to be on, that they were on until 2 days before it premiered on Netflix.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Did they flip out or did they love it?
They were like, what? And I go, you're in the special, you're in the credits. They're like, no, Jared, come on, what? And they didn't know what it was. And I'm not going to embarrass my parents. I don't think I did. But
No,
I think,
it's so
it's
good.
fun.
It's loving.
But it's really how the family dynamic works. And so I kind of had considered, now I'm starting to talk about it as like, it's like the Marvel post-credit scene that previews the next movie.
Yeah, Iron Man shows up. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is, my mom and dad are Iron Man showing up. And they, and now on the road. And, you know, I think like, you know, you mentioned like Groundlings before and doing improv, doing anything on stage. It's like, it takes a lot of guts to do anything on stage, but it takes guts to like take a chance that you're like to just take any chance on stage. Once you're used to being on stage and you get used to it, you get used to being funny in a certain way. And then you feel locked into that type of funny because you're like, well, maybe this other way won't work. And now I got to like relearn how to ride the bike again. And what that, you know, the story about going to McDonald's, the story about like the Jewish woman at the Delta Sky Club at the end of the special, like these are all like bits that I would do like only if I felt super comfortable at a show. And then the more I worked on them, the more they became my like most fun and loved things after the show. It's the things that people would talk to me about the most. So it kind of pushed me. And then I put that little post-credit scene with my parents. And, you know, the way people would talk about it was the way I want people to talk about my stand-up. So I had this story from maybe it's pre-pandemic, maybe. I'm not sure. I went to the beach with my parents. And it could have been a one-sentence joke.
Yeah.
And the more I kept talking about going to the beach with my parents, the more I got that feeling again. Like, oh, I'm really connecting with this. So then I started talking about my dad and talking about my relationship with my dad. And then I started talking about my mom. And then I started making the through line was this whole trip to the beach. And it's been pretty unbelievable, like how much people are into it. I'm going to Atlanta tomorrow to do the first theater show for it. It's definitely like a more of a theater.
And moving from, you know, clubs to theaters, that's a kind of a huge leap.
Huge leap. Clubs are just, I love doing a club. I love a stand-up club. I love working on material there. That's a place where it's a little bit more messy. It's a little bit more, you know, you can stop, talk to the crowd. They're bringing out the checks. You know, the waitresses are there, the waiters. There's a different dynamic. I actually did this new material in a vineyard in Connecticut.
Why wouldn't you?
It was a big tented vineyard, and it was the first time I did it where there wasn't like the club stuff I had to deal with. You know, you have to deal with, you know, give it up for the wait staff and, you know, and make sure you tip and, oh, they're bringing your checks and all these things. If you've been to a show at a comedy club, you understand.
And you can feel either the audience fully with you or aggression a lot easier at a club than a theater.
At a club, I guess I don't know yet.
Yeah,
would be the honest answer.
Yeah,
No. But
right.
I would say, you know, the club just offers more speed bumps.
Got it.
Fun speed bumps. Don't get me wrong. Like, listen, you'll be at a club and I'll get on. Hey, Jared Freid. And I'm at the Comedy Cellar, and someone the other night, she was like excited for me. I think she knew who I was, and she goes, "Ah!" And I'm like, it was so loud that like the whole audience, like I'm not famous, so I have to acknowledge someone really likes me while also acknowledging the rest of the room has no fucking clue who I am.
But that's a beautiful gift in a way, right?
A little bit of you have to, as you know, in improv, that is a gift. That's the best gift in the world.
Yeah.
Everything's a gift. So she screams out, and I go, and I look at her, I go, give it up for my mom, everybody. Like a very easy joke, but it's a skill to get to where I want to go on stage. So I'm not saying she's old. I'm saying my mom would be the only one in the world that encourage. Exactly.
Yeah.
So then I'm like starting my set. So I got that out of the way. In my mind, done. And then I turn to the crowd and she goes, I'm not that old. And it's like, okay, right. Now she's back. Now we got to play this new game. This is another gift. And she goes, I'm not that old. I'm 31. I'm single. And I'm like, it sounds like she's doing a reading of her Bumble profile. So then I go to the front, I go, I'm 31, I'm looking for someone, I like Sudoku. And like, I make this whole rant on it. I put it up on my Instagram, and it was like, again, like when you're in a theater and everyone there is there because they're there for the Jared Freid show and not necessarily the comedy show.
Yeah.
There's a different
vibe.
Perform for us.
Yes.
So when I did it in the Vineyard, it was the first time I had like a straight hour to just like not, nothing else would happen but the show. And it was like, I was like, oh, this is a piece. So it's really cool to like
start thinking about it like a piece.
Right. As what, instead of like joke, it's 1 hour of a story.
That's, I mean, a lot of people, I was talking about this with somebody today of people romanticizing, like, I think I romanticize stand-up. It's like, you guys are, you're grinding it out, and it's like, but at the same time, you're like, wow, these guys were like titans, like I grew up, loving stand-ups and thinking about like just people getting in there, like 3 clubs a night, bam, like trying to get their at-bats,
Right.
And what is it like grinding that out to get to a point where you're at now? I mean, do people romanticize that of like, oh, it's been so easy for you, not realizing the work that you've put in to get to this point?
It's tiring, like, and it's also hard because you have to change. And change is hard, as anyone knows, but it's like, you have to like, I have to go, like, even the other night, my dad is on the phone with me. Like, I did the Netflix special. My dad's like, you got to take a night off. I have been 13 years. I was doing like 3 spots a night for, running around New York City, doing from open mics. I think if someone was to say, oh, I would have a reputation of doing a lot of stand-up.
Yeah.
And even in open mics, who's doing the most? I think I was in that group. So, and then you go to do shows at clubs, and then it's like, okay, I got to replace the open mic time that I'm practicing with the club time. But I got to be good at the clubs, and I can't bomb. So where am I going to get that time to do the new stuff? So at a certain point, you started all open mics, then you go to the clubs, and now I got to do half open mics, half clubs. Then I get enough club spots where I can just make those my practice times. Then I get in the cellar, and you start hosting there, and it's like, okay, you got to do good every night. And then you get a Netflix special, and you go, okay, well, where's the practice time coming from?
With like Hulu? Yeah.
Right. So it's so again, like I need to like figure out my work process over and over again. I don't know if every business has to do that so quickly.
Yeah.
Like I have to figure out what is my workflow over and over again. So I again, like tonight I'll do 2 spots. Last night I did 2. I'm taking, Thursday I'm doing the show in Atlanta, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday I'm going to hang with my parents in Boca. Like I need the time
for
there.
material, not even to hang out with. I just need
right. I just need them to yell at me.
I was like, they knew 2 days before the Netflix special premiered that they're on it. Like I have a feeling you've sold a sitcom already, and they're going to find out right as it hits on. Like
I wish that were true. It was funny though. Like I was in Providence, their friends came. I got them seats, or no, they just bought tickets. My parents were like, you're going? They're like, yeah, we're going tonight. Like that's like where it's gotten to. And they came, and they loved it. They were like, but then, and it's funny because like their friends are there. taking pictures of me taking pictures with people in the audience. Like the friends came, the friends bought tickets because they know my parents, or maybe because I don't know if they didn't even like me.
They love your parents.
Love my parents enough to buy tickets to my show. Then they came. I think they had a fun time, but then they're just there taking pictures of me taking pictures of
That's
people.
great to get a picture of you, getting a picture taken of you.
Right.
That is
to show my parents, look at these idiots taking a picture with your son.
So the Family Business Tour at theaters. You can buy tickets online, obviously. Another great bit of 37 and Single that I really related to, unfortunately, was night eating.
Yes.
And you have this amazing story during the pandemic of being locked out of your parents' place because you going in to like make poo-poo platters.
Right.
And the thing that I found upsetting is that you would do poo-poo platters and then you would be like, oh, I'll take it upstairs or take it to your bedroom. I do the night eating right there in the fridge. Right. It's even sadder.
By candlelight, by fridge light.
Exactly. Yeah. Just like the settlers used to do.
Yes,
but you will make a poo-poo platter and take it to your room.
Yeah. My whole life. But also that changed. I was living with my girlfriend at the time, and I remember doing it at the fridge. It changes based on your circumstance.
Yeah, because
I can't go back. Right.
The shame of her watching her then boyfriend feed himself in the bed.
It's a shameful act. Nighttime eating, and it's like. And it's also like I call it an addiction because I don't have that much of a control over it. So, or I like to have more control over it than I do, So it is funny to see because when I first started talking about nighttime eating, I could see that half the crowd related, half the crowd had no relation, but they were pointing at the person that related.
So, what a great night for that person.
Right. Yeah. And I could see this is an embarrassment. Like this is
huge.
You seem weaker. You seem like you have to give an answer. My whole life. What are you doing? Why are you hungry?
What's going on? What's going
know.
on during the day that you need this at night?
Right. What? Didn't you eat dinner? These are questions you get when you late night eat. And it's like, it is such a mental thing. It is such a hard thing to like figure out.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was nice to like, I'm not sitting here trying to find my angle with people. Like, I'm not like I see that with some comics and it gets annoying where it's like, they're just going to take the other opinion on whatever the story of the day is, whether it's, all gender bathrooms or, whatever the hot topic is, they'll go, there's a mathematical equation they're doing. I don't really, I'm not smart enough to get into those topics. I don't think I don't have enough confidence. So I just, talk about something I'm going through and if I see people go, I'm like, all right, we'll keep going down that road. Like I've been talking a lot about my mom is horrible at pictures. And like, I even did it last night. I've been dancing around this joke. My mom's bad at pictures and just talking about that. And whenever she takes a picture and like, I have the first line, I don't have the final line, but I got a bunch of lines that I've been doing in different order and different angles. And I keep doing it. And now that's like the different part of stand up for me now. It used to be, I'd go up on stage and I'd be like, I don't know if any of this is going to work. Now I know the lines will all work. I just don't know what way I'm positioning it.
Do you ever find your parents now performing for you, almost trying to get in your act, and you're like, "This isn't genuine.
They want nothing to do it." No. Well, that was so when we did the hidden cameras at the special taping, my thought was that we'd get my parents yelling at me in the green room, and then it would immediately smash cut to me on stage going, "I'm 37 and single," which I thought was very funny.
Yeah.
So we got this. So Mike Lavin, who made the special, Homeless Pimp, he's great. He was like, okay, so we're going to put the hidden cameras in the green room. I was like, thank you. That's great. He goes, what if they don't say anything? And he goes, do you want us to like get some lines together that they could read afterwards? I go, no, that is,
got this.
They will, no, that is, they will be horrible. If they're acting, it'll be so bad that we could never.
Yeah.
He goes, okay, well, if we don't get it, I go, we'll get it. My mom walks into the green room and you see it. The minute she walks in, she goes, "It's a dungeon in here."
It was so good. It was so.
That was her opening line.
What a great descriptor for a backstage of a comedy club,
right?
Or a theater.
The theater, it's Gramercy Theater, and it looks like a dungeon. She's right, but it was like the minute she said that, I was like, oh. And then they left the green room, and I remember he came out to me. He's like, "Oh my God, you weren't kidding! Like that was wild." And I'm like, because we have stuff that we're like, yeah, that's not going to go in there, like that my parents are saying. It's like, no. But it is, if they read it, it just wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
That's why when I'm in Boca, when I go visit them, I'm like, there are moments where my mom's like, "Stop taping!"
Yeah, I used to get that from my parents too, of just like, don't film me. Don't secretly film me. Because I secretly filmed her a couple of times because people enjoyed it. Yeah. But then it became every time, "You're not filming." Or even if I just held my phone casually, she'd always think it was on.
Right. Yeah, my mom will do this thing where she'll laugh and then go, "Are you filming?" Like she'll know we just did a bit,
How long have you been in the city itself?
I moved here in 2020.
I was like
2007 after college. I graduated Penn State and I moved directly here to I sold life insurance.
When did stand-up become?
I started doing it like 25, and that was like 2010. And I started doing everything. I kind of considered it grad school.
Yeah.
So I took improv, I took sketch writing, I went to like all the, UCB and Chicago City Limits, and I took a storytelling class, and I met up with stand-ups. I would go, hang at a club and just try to like talk to stand-ups. I ended up like hiring a stand-up comic to like give me advice, like all that stuff.
So you hit it like hard immediately.
And I think that's also something that like pushes comics away. I think that's hard in the beginning as they go, "Oh, what are you trying to game this system?" Because comics are very like sensitive to that. I think like of someone like entering a world with a, with a business brain, like I think people want to believe. I think people in comedy generally want to believe, this is just my power that I can't help but have. And it's like, no, it has to be worked on.
Yeah.
It has to be learned. It has to be, thought into. It has to be.
Exactly.
You have to think of the marketing and the branding. And if you're not, like, do you want to do this as a career? Like, I wanted to do this the rest of my life. So the thought of like, how do I make this a career while also being my genuine self in my comedy has always been the goal.
Yeah, I used to teach at an acting school, and it was the same thing. Is people were like, "Well, isn't that cheating if you're getting coached on acting?" And it's like, wait, this isn't some kind of weird alchemy that happens that you're just able to act. Is that like you do work on things? The things you do need somebody suggesting and giving ideas and bouncing things off. Absolutely. That's where art actually happens.
Yeah, I think a lot of people they come in with a pre-existing notion of what it is and can't let go of that. Like, especially if you're like a fan. Growing up, I was never like a fanboy of stand-up. Like I was always just like, I like comedy. I like funny things. I like making my friends laugh. Like it's as genuine as that. I like when getting a laugh. Like I've always liked getting a laugh. There's some people I would meet. I'll be like, "Oh, you just loved, one George Carlin CD." And it's like, and to them, George Carlin was this. Again, he's a genius. Yeah. Not to say he's not a genius, but at the same time, like. He didn't just come out of the womb, doing limericks the way he was doing late in life.
Yeah, could you imagine? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's, I think, I've really just kind of enjoyed like steering the ship.
Yeah. It'll be really exciting to see what happens with the theaters and how that feeling is. I mean, that seems like to be a huge inflection point for where you're headed for this whole next level.
Yeah. I mean, like the story about going to the beach with my family, like, I do like believe it's like I've gotten responses from it that are different than like 37 Single. Those are all jokes I love. They're all true stories. All things that happen to me, all my original thoughts and feelings and about being single, about going to gender reveal parties, about, friends in different parts of life, all late night eating. It's all true and good. This feels more me. And this feels like my type of comedy. And it's like, there was like a Seinfeld quote. I always find these quotes and you find a way to relate them to yourself. But there was like a sign, like your age in comedy is your age. Years in comedy is your age. So it's like if you're 8 years in, you're 8 years old, now I'm 13 years old. Oh, maybe I'm becoming a man. Maybe this is my bar mitzvah year. I don't know.
I was watching Seinfeld the other week, and I was just thinking, God, what a missed opportunity. I would have loved to have seen the Seinfeld cast if it was filmed today would Jerry be on the apps?
Right.
Any of that stuff. Sorry to interrupt you.
No,
You said Seinfeld, and I was like, I was just watching this wondering, God, I wonder if they're still single in this day and age.
Right. I mean, that's a big part of it. Sorry to yawn. No, that's like a big thing of the compliments I got on the special was this feels like the kind of how judgy Seinfeld was. And it's like, yeah, if he lived in today's time, maybe he would have the same judgments as I do.
Yeah, that's what that's what I'm saying. You guys, if you haven't seen the special, go check out the special because there were so many times. I mean, I was watching this on an airplane. John Stamos was over and I was trying to laugh really loud to get John Stamos to look at me because he was so good looking at 60 years old that it really frustrated me. So I wanted to show him that I was having a great time.
He really is gorgeous.
He kept going up to go to the bathroom and it was like he was parading himself in front of us. He was all tiny and lithe. But I was like, but then I was like, this is really fucking funny. And it's like there were so many things that I was just like, yes, that's like your take on these things. And then it was like everybody puts their own spin on it. But it's like, man, you've been trying to lose 10 pounds your whole life. I've been trying to lose 30 pounds my whole life. I was sitting there the other day, the whole nighttime eating thing had me in such hysterics that the other week I was like, oh my God. I woke up. Do you ever do the wake up and then go do the poo-poo platter, or are you always up?
Oh, I've done the wake up. Usually it takes about an hour of me debating.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Yeah, if you do it, it'll always be popcorn. It'll be have some popcorn. It's a fiber.
It's
good for you. Good for you. It's a low-fat popcorn. But then I know in the back of my brain, one kernel means the second bag is being made. So... Again, I say, Jared, don't do it. You have one bag of popcorn. It's the second bag of popcorn. Don't do it. Don't do it. And then I go have the one popcorn. Then I have the one, and I go, as I'm making the second, going, I knew it. This was always coming.
Because disappointment is part of it as you're actually doing it.
Oh, absolutely. And then, it's shameful.
But I'll do the wake up and immediately go to the ice cream. It's calls to me.
So you like sweet?
Well, not even that. It's just lately the ice cream, and then the ice cream happened the other night, and I didn't go to the fridge when I woke up, even though my initial thought, I went to go, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And I sat back down, and I patted myself on the back, and I was like, "You're not supposed to be fucking eating ice cream when you just wake up. Why are you patting? You're like, you just got
little ice cream breakfast."
I was like, "Look at me, the strength that I have." Finally, just really quick, we have a rumor that Taylor Swift is now dating Travis Kelce.
Not a rumor.
Because the brother supposedly confirmed it.
Yeah, the brother said it's true.
Do we like this? Do you have a take on Taylor Swift?
I like her. I think my take is always that she's the greatest business person of our generation. She's also, she knows how to make herself, here's what we want generally right now. We want a company, a look, a brand to represent us, to be our experience. No one has tapped into that better than Taylor Swift. The songs are my life, no matter you're 15-year-old woman, 20-year-old, 25, 30, 35, 40. Heartbreak is connective, and I just think it's she's an amazing artist, don't get me wrong, but she's also the spokesperson for Capital One Bank. So
yes, she does it all.
Right. So you have to go, when does the art begin and the capitalism begin?
Where
art end
where's
in
that
the
marriage?
Right. No one has married art and capitalism better than her. And no one considers her like a capitalist. No one considers. She put out a whole album that is Taylor's version because to screw over another person she did business with. Is there anything more business, cutthroat, capitalistic than that?
I mean, and she did it so well.
Right, and people talk about her like, we have to fight for Taylor. As if there's her mortgage for the house on Watch Hill is on the line.
She needs us now more than ever.
I just think it's so interesting. She puts out a 10-minute hit piece on...
Jake Gyllenhaal.
He does that Jake Gyllenhaal music video.
Yeah, All Too Well.
All Too Well claims, I wrote these words at the time. But if you go look at the words, that can't be true. You go, this was written a week ago. You know, like, I don't know. So again, like, I'm in awe of her talent. I'm even more in awe of her business acumen. I mean, like, even the tour, like, it's the biggest tour of all time. I mean,
people said it's 3.5 hours long. And
that's crazy.
I've talked to many people that said, I loved every bit of it, but I got exhausted. Like I had to sit down because it's 3.5 hours
well,
long.
then you think of like Kelsey. She has nothing to win from this. So she must like him.
See, part of me thinks he's going to blow it before it even really gets going because there's these little jokes now. His brother said something on like some thing. I feel like I almost get worried, like, shut up, like let it, like keep it secret.
Yeah, well, the brother has a podcast with him. So again,
there we go.
Again, you kind of have to follow the money. Like I feel for Taylor. I wonder if anything could ever would
you date Taylor Swift? Taylor comes to your family business tour. Wants to meet you and says, hey, before we even talk, would you go on a date with me?
I'd go on a date with Taylor, of course. Yeah. But, but again, that's probably the reason that it's so hard to beat Taylor Swift and date. Because, like, I wouldn't say, of course, about anyone. And I'm not saying I'm some hot ticket who it's hard to get a date with. I'm just saying, like, Taylor, like, there's I have a type. Taylor doesn't really fit the type that I usually date. I like curvy, brown-haired women. Like she's not my type. But I'm still here being like, I gotta go on a date with Taylor.
You can't,
right? Like I would waste her time. Do you know what I mean? Not to say we couldn't fall in love, but like this is where I take Taylor's side in all relationships. Like to me, the person that's like, why should we trust Travis Kelce?
Yeah.
To me, it's like, he's like, yeah, I'll go on a date with Taylor. So, are you kidding me? And you go, Travis, who are the other women you date? You see a bunch of women that look nothing like Taylor. You're like, okay, well, is you taking this seriously? Or is she a novelty to you?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I would be. If I was like Taylor's personal relationship coach, I would be like, how do you separate novelty from interest, lust, love?
Now I do want to see Jared Freid be Taylor Swift's relationship coach.
I will do it free of charge.
You're selling out theaters. Are you sure?
I think I'll have no problem selling a ticket being Taylor's. It'll be the best marketing dollars that I've ever not spent. Got spent on me. I'll take the. You know what they say? Like, what do they say when do it for the
do it for the story?
No,
do it for the gram?
No, to get your brand out there.
Do it for the exposure.
Exposure. Yeah. This is the most exposure play I could ever have. Taylor Swift's dating coach. I think the U Up podcast would get a few more listeners. If I was Taylor Swift's personal dating coach.
Oh my God. I just love the fact that somebody potentially could have an ick with Taylor Swift. Like what? Like God, you smell like sour cream and onion chips. Like, is there something that is
Don't
like
create rumors you can't back up?
Or could we create rumors?
Yeah,
this
sour
would be great.
cream and onion Taylor.
You guys, if you want tickets to Jared's show, it's jaredfreid.com. You can hear him all over Betches, the U Up podcast. They are covering the Golden Bachelor on The Bachelor with our friend K York City. And anything else? I mean, you were just too busy. You're going to do 2 shows tonight?
I'm all jaredfreid.com. I'm in Huntington, Long Island. I'm in Seattle. Philly, we added a second show. DC, Boston, Baltimore. I
mean, you're playing the Vic in Chicago.
The Vic in Chicago. So one show is already sold out in March.
Holy you sold out the Vic already?
We haven't added a second show. It's not until March. The second show is already half sold.
That's crazy. You're already in 2024.
Already there. Chicago's always been like a fun place for me. I did 14 shows. I did a residency at Zany's. Zany's like 130 people.
Yeah.
I did 14 shows. I did theme nights. It was very helpful to like write new material. But I did that a couple summers ago and just spent a week in Chicago. Like, loved every second of it. Got drunk like crazy every night, yeah.
Well, dude, I hope to have a drink with you one day.
I would love that.
This was truly an honor, man. You really did make me laugh so hard watching that special.
Thank you.
And I'm a huge fan of your podcasting work, so thank you for being on the first week of my shows. I really do.
Dude, this is a blast. Welcome to the Betches family.
Yeah.
If that means anything at all. But I appreciate it.
I can't wait just to be at you and Taylor's wedding. That's going to be amazing.
Well, I'll be coaching her.
Jared Freid, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.